last play in a late southern fall. I heard the crowd celebrate when Bobby caught that ball. I pulled off them shoulder pads for the very last time. I shed a tear and laughed a while with a bunch of brothers of mine. Picked her up that Friday night, she had curls in her hair. And man, my heart skipped a beat when she walked down them stairs. A pretty little prom dress, smile sweet as apple pie. And we danced away high school in the blink of an eye. It ain't a day that I don't think about it now. About a life well lived and all the roads that I've been down. Each moment's one that, yeah, it made me who I am. And turned a boy into a man.
What is up, Rio Hondo football fans? It is officially week 5, and that means a very tough matchup against the Torrance Tartars, who come to Kare Park on Friday night with a 3-1 record. And although you may not be intimidated by that record and just think, oh, well, they're not undefeated, you got to look at it from a standpoint of, the Torrance Tartars have played a pretty good schedule. They've played some big-time opponents thus far in the season. Narbonne, Redondo Union, to be specific. And this is a team that's coming into Kare Park that I will honestly say is going to be a tough test for us. It's a big public school, a school that plays pretty good football, and we'll look at some of their scores here real soon. But I think our young men are going to have to elevate their game a little bit this week. They're going to have to step it up and be prepared that what they've been doing, it may not be good enough. You're going to have to amp it up, do what you do well, even better this week than perhaps you have in prior weeks. So our young men, our boys are going to have to turn into men rather quickly this Friday night at Kare Park with a huge week 5 matchup against the 3-1 Torrance Tartars. And, it also kind of puts things in perspective in the sense that, we want these guys to grow up quickly and such, but at the same time, it's going really fast also, right? We're already halfway through the season. Coach Carson says a third of the way through the season, if you know what I mean. But man, our young man just started a few weeks ago down in San Diego. Some of these guys taking their first varsity snaps, and heck, man, we're already 5 games in. And Rio's off to a 5-0 start with big wins over Francis Parker, Pasadena Poly, El Monte, Marquez, and last week Boron. But I think we're up against a different animal this Friday. And, I hope the young men are ready for it and ready to put in maybe a little extra work, right? Who was it? Bobby Knight was like, what's game face? What's your game face? And he'd make fun and, throw all these different things. But it's going to take a team effort this week to slow down Torrance, to again, level the playing field. And I think if Rio Hondo does the things that they traditionally do well and have done well this season, run the ball, play decent defense, not give up too many big plays, maybe get some takeaways, I think they'll be in the game. But when you're up against a team like Torrance, again, it's not so much the record and what they do, it's where they've been, who they've played, the level of competition, right? Rio for years has always been about taking that next step, playing bigger schools, playing in higher divisions. Well, they've got to do that in recent years. They beat Charter Oak in the playoffs. We all know that in the Division 7 playoffs a few years ago. They are routinely up against teams and schools that are a bigger enrollment. And, last year in the first round against Norwalk. And these are challenges, I think, that many of us alumni have wanted over the years. We've wanted to see who Rio can take down, who Rio could go against. So it's kind of a catch-22, right? Because you want the opportunities, but you also know kind of where you're at, the level you're at, and kind of the depth you have. And I think Rio's a little banged up right now, this point of the season. And who isn't banged up a little bit, right? Everyone's got some injuries, and we've seen Alex Mustaine be injured, come back. We've seen guys like, Jacob Gomez are out right now. Ivan Takashi, he's been out. We'll see about these guys getting back on the field here soon for Rio to be at full strength. But at this point of the season, man, everyone's banged up and hurt a little bit, right? And you don't want to rush back. You don't want to do something that's going to risk your injury being even worse. But that's the beauty of football, really, the attrition that goes down in the season. And so Rio's up against it this Friday. I really implore you guys, if you can get out to this game, please do so. Tell a family member, tell another friend, say, hey man, come out to this game Friday night. I believe it's, I'm not positive, but I believe it's senior night. They're going to honor the seniors. And again, this is the third of 4 consecutive home games. So there's a home game next week against Kings Academy from the Bay Area, and then 1 home game after that. So real quickly, we have got down to just a few short home games left. And if you haven't made it out to Kare Park yet, I really encourage you guys to do so. There's a playground for the kids. There's usually food before the game for a good cause, right? Fundraising of some kind. And just a great atmosphere, great environment. So if you guys, man, if you're looking for a game to get to, this would be the one, I tell you. And I could say that about every single week. And I know I've talked up El Monte, I've talked up Pasadena Poly, I've talked up the Boron rivalry, but this one, I think when you look at the schedule as a whole, you knew that Campbell Hall and Brentwood, those would be tough matchups. But I think Torrance is the game where you're really stepping up your game a little bit. You're taking your game to the next level and seeing how Rio Hondo matches up against maybe a bigger school that has played some higher competition, because that's always been the question, right? For so many years, how would Rio Hondo do against the Charter Oak? How would they do against the Northview, a Glendora, Muir, Monrovia, all these schools that have had pretty good success over the years? And I think Rio Hondo's right up there with some of the top programs in the area. I firmly believe that. I think Rio rises to the occasion more often than not. And they usually surprise people. And it's not just the kids you have on the team this year. It's kind of just built in with the tradition that overachieving, that overachieving, I should say, that, that David and Goliath mentality that Rio is, as well as they do at times, they don't get the respect maybe that they feel they deserve. And I know Rio fans and alumni and players, we all wear that with a badge of honor, right? Like, hey, you don't believe Rio Hondo is a big time program? All right, watch this, right? And even if you don't maybe win a ball game like last year in the playoffs, I think we earn the respect of so many people on the Norwalk sideline, and anyone watching that game with who didn't have a vested interest in it, that it's like, wow, these guys can play ball. They do big things for the small school they are. And so we're up against a tough test this Friday, I should say, at home against the Torrance Tartars. So I implore everyone, get out to the game. If you can't make it, watch the game online. I know sometimes there's issues with the NFHS network, and I get Facebook messages from fans and stuff on Friday about 7:10 local time. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know why it's not working, but it's not working. So anyway, get out to the game if you can. I really encourage you guys to do so. It's a few bucks to get in, not a big deal. And if you want to save a few dollars, then by all means, purchase that $11 or whatever it is for the NFHS network, and you can watch multiple games for just a few dollars. So huge game this Friday night. I really would like to see Rio with the next 2 weeks go into league play somewhat healthy. So we got to get to that bye week in 2 weeks. But first off, the Torrance Tartars, followed up by Kings Academy, who we do not know much about, from the Bay Area, but a small school that's coming down and will be a tough opponent as well. So I'm really excited about this game Friday night. I'm going to try my best to get there as early as possible and hype it up like I'm supposed to do right here on the podcast. It's my job to get you guys fired up on the pregame show, whether you're listening to this on Thursday night, 24 hours roughly before kickoff, or on your way to the game. I hope that it puts you in a good frame of mind for the football game this Friday night. We have a wonderful guest today, a Rio Hondo alum, somebody that has been mentioned to me multiple times. I have not met this guy before I recorded with him, but it was an absolute pleasure. An older gentleman, a guy who played on the 1982 championship team, which 41 years ago went undefeated and was one of our best teams ever. And Dave Guerrero, who does some camera sideline reporting with us on the Friday night broadcast team or whatever. He does great work with the YouTube channel as well. He suggested this guy to me, and a former teammate of his, and I wanted to reach out. And sometimes you reach out to people and she's like, hey, would you like to talk on the podcast? Some guys are hesitant, but this individual was willing to do so. And I had a great time talking with him. We're going to be joined by 1982 CIF champion Don Bedoya, who was on that great championship team and did a lot of big time things. He now lives in Louisiana, and we'll reflect back on his days at Rio Hondo Prep, his journey to get there, and kind of, it was a unique path for him from what I can remember. And just a lot of, again, you look back and you kind of see how things are now, right? With transfers and guys going into Rio who maybe didn't go to Kare Youth League. Well, Don Bedoya at that time, that was really, really rare. And I believe he wasn't involved in Kare Youth League, but he was looking for a private school and landed on Rio. So his story is rather interesting. And he happened to be one of the top players on that 1982 championship team. So if you want to know a little bit more about Don Bedoya, ask Dave Guerrero there on the sideline, who's running the camera. And Dave was a quarterback of that team. And I've recorded with Dave as well for a pregame show. We'll probably hear from him maybe next week, but yeah, ask Dave or anybody on that 1982 team about Don Bedoya, and I'm sure you'll hear some great stories. So Don was gracious with his time and just had nothing but good things to say about Rio Hondo Prep. And I love talking to alums. I love talking to people that have a unique perspective of Rio Hondo Prep and trying to pass that along to you guys right on the podcast, and just go down memory lane a little bit with some of our older leaders, getting to kind of go back in time and hear from some of those alumni as well, see what they're doing, what they're up to now. And more often than not, it's guys that have gone on into an industry of service or, working for others. So Don Bedoya, special man and somebody that I enjoyed talking to. So I'm really looking forward to you guys hearing this conversation with Don. On the postgame show this weekend, I will more than likely have newly elected President Colby Johnson on the podcast as our player representative. We usually have Coach Carson, right? And then a player on the podcast to just kind of hear from them and see what's going on. Last year we had Zane Fruitwala come on the show after he was elected. So I felt, let's have Colby Johnson on the podcast this weekend. Hopefully he has a good game on Friday night, and there'll be a few things to talk about, but I want to hear about, his administration, what his speech was like on Sunday and everything. We saw some great photos from the guys and gals there, all dressed up and ready to go for the inaugural on Sunday, and got some pictures out. And that was always a lot of fun. Inaugurals were just a blast, right? Back in the day, as some of us were like, how we got to throw a suit on, but all in all, it was a good time. And looking back, I don't know what other high schools do. They have proms, I guess, and winter formals and things, but the inaugural is really special. Really brought the high school together and made you feel important, whether you're a freshman or a senior. Like, it's just, you're part of something special at Rio Hondo Prep, and that's a big reason why we continue to have this podcast out for the Charge to Keep podcast, and just help the football program grow and learn about a little bit of everybody and just the ins and outs of the operation. So let's get to our interview with Don Bedoya right now. When I come back after the interview, it's about 25 minutes. After that, I'll do a brief rules discussion, maybe make a few announcements. We'll break down some of the scores from the Torrance Tartars. But you guys are tuning in today to hear one of our legendary alumni, Don Bedoya from Louisiana. Again, I hadn't met him before this conversation, so it was a lot of fun going down memory lane and just kind of reliving that 1982 season a little bit. Sit back, relax. I hope you enjoy this one. A member of our alumni here from 1982, a CIF champion on the undefeated team in 82, Don Bedoya. Okay, now joining us from Louisiana is 1982 CIF champion Don Bedoya from the class of 1983. How you doing, Don?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Thank you for doing this. I've had you suggested to me by multiple people, most notably one of your former teammates, Dave Guerrero.
Yes. Dave's a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, Dave was Dave's a real humble guy. He does a lot of filming now for the team on the sideline. His kids went through Rio. Dave was a quarterback. What positions did you play back in the day, Don?
Fullback, and for my senior year, defensive end.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. And you guys went undefeated, I think, in 1982, right? 13-0 or something?
13-0, yes.
Wow. Yes. Who'd you end up playing in that championship game?
Templeton,
yeah.
Yes.
The nemesis. I've seen that footage of that game on YouTube a time or two. It's out there at Kare Field.
Yeah. They that team that we played against as freshmen, we had a 77 game win streak going, and they beat us and stopped it at 77. So we have the 77 most wins, and then we lost.
Wow.
So we have a record. But that same team beat us our junior year in the CIF Championship, and then we got them our senior year.
Oh, that's sweet. That is sweet revenge. I've heard that rivalry was special with two schools so far apart, and we got to bring that one back, I think, in the 11-man era. Maybe just for old time's sake. So that had to be sweet after losing to them in the finals to then beating them in the finals the next year?
Yep, the next year.
And
And
was that go ahead?
I was gonna say there are two running backs that destroyed us our junior year, came back their senior year, and we pretty much shut them down.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's anytime you can flip a switch like that, that's cool. And at that time, you guys were still playing them annually, in the regular season as well.
I think we faced them our second game our senior year, and we took care of them. We actually had everything through the air. We had a great passing game, and then when they came to play us in the championship, we ran all over them.
Balance. No, absolutely. When a team knows you that well, you gotta keep them on their toes, keep them honest. I don't know a lot of guys from that team. I've just met you today, but I've heard from so many people. Your quarterback, Dave Guerrero, Paul Clark is a big fan of yours. It's like, man, you got to get Don Bedoya on the podcast. I know Scott Moore was a big time running back on that team. A lot of people remember Scott Moore. Talk to me about some of your teammates from 1982.
Oh, we had Don Aiden, Derek Durden, Scott. Aiden was a receiver. He was kind of small growing up, and then all of a sudden his senior year, he put it all together too. He was you couldn't cover him. He was fast. He'll even hit you on defense, come up and lay a few licks on you. Derek Durden was about 6'6". He was our tight end. He caught a lot of I guess important passes whenever we needed some big plays, third down, and long. We'd sneak him up the middle. Dave hit him. Dave was our quarterback. He was a junior. He went to 3 straight CIF championships. He led 3 Rio Hondo teams straight, his sophomore, junior, and senior year. And let's see, we had Norm Schultz, Steve Mendoza on the line, John Weiss, and Kyle, I can't remember his last name. He was on the line. Moore rushed for about 1,150 yards that year. I had like 1,250 myself. He scored 23 touchdowns. I had 24. Dave had like, in the 20s too, 13 passing. We actually broke the California record for scoring that year.
Wow.
Nobody ever scored over 600 points. We had like maybe 650 points that year. We went undefeated. We played. I guess we got together this past couple months ago. We had a team reunion for 40 years, and we talked about how we played 4 prison schools. By the time we made it to the championship, Templeton used to always beat us up. We were like laughing at them. We weren't scared of them no more. We done played El Paso de Robo twice, Masada, Marquette. These guys were in there and taking swipes at us and hitting cheap shots and everything. But, they toughened us up.
Yeah, I don't think there's many schools outside of Rio that's played schools like that. Small school football. Sometimes you got a unique experience of playing, quote, prison schools. Guys that get in trouble and they want to have a football team and get out there and hit people, and it's not always legal, and then they trash talk a little bit too. So
yeah. And our defense was led by nose guard Mark Acosta, one of the fastest guys on the field, and if you got by Acosta, Schultz would take your head off.
I've heard Norm Schultz was quite the football player, both sides of the ball. Wow.
Yeah. Some people are scared to do something, throw your body in the air. He'd hit a train. He didn't care. Like, Norm, what are you doing? As many times I picked him up off the field, like, just have this look on his face, like, what are you doing? Hilarious. One of the hardest time I've ever been hit in all of high school, running back. No one's ever hit me, but in practice, Norm got me one time. We was running doing a photo shoot for the local paper, the Star, Pasadena Star, And Mr. Johnson says, "Oh, run a power 22." Well, he went to the defense and said, "Look, we're going to run a power 22." So Norm knows I'm coming up the middle. I get the ball, I come up the middle. He flipped me over. He hit me. He came right at my knees and took me out. It's like before the championship game. It's like, "Well, what are you doing?" He goes, he didn't know. He didn't have a stop button.
Wow, that sounds like a great Rio Hondo type of guy. Great Rio Hondo football player. That's you need
Yeah.
guys like that, man, at all times. Don, I got a couple questions here from your old high school quarterback. I told him I was recording with you, and so he shot me a couple questions. Number one, he says, ask Don about his halftime routine. I have no idea what this means, but
Uh, let's see. I'm a glutton. I like to eat, and then we'd have that. I guess a team dinner, maybe 3 hours before we played, and I just stuffed myself full. So we get out to play, and about halftime, I'm like ready to throw up. Because it's like I'm so full, and I threw up one time, and then threw up again at halftime. So every halftime turned into a ritual because we're winning every. It's like, oh, you got to keep doing that.
only high school boys would come up with something like that. That's hilarious. Now the team dinners are a little further, further before kickoff. So that's really funny.
But on my defense, I was the fullback, and I was on defense as a defensive end. I didn't come out. I was on kickoffs and punts, and not only when I had to run, I had to even block for Scott because the fullback is very important in our offense. He's out there in front of everybody blocking. So I never took a play off, but by the time halftime came, I was drained.
ready to get it all out of the system. That's hilarious. Good question there, Dave. And then, okay, I thought this was rather funny too. I guess you guys ran a lot of triple option and stuff. Dave asks, ask Don why on the option he thought he was supposed to get the ball every time, as he was the person who was supposed to do the read.
All right, yes, I'm guilty of that. You put the ball in my stomach, you ain't getting it back.
That's a great point, man. That's absolutely ball security, and yeah, you put that's a quote for all time right there. Sounds like you and Dave and all the guys really had a lot of camaraderie on that team.
We did. Like you said, when you asked me before, did I grow up in the Rio Hondo system? I was, no, I got there in high school, and I felt like I didn't fit in when I first got there. But looking back, I see that the camaraderie, I miss that. Scott and Don Aiden really helped me along my spiritual, I guess, self too. Getting there from the outside, coming in, you're not used to all of that. And I think as a senior, our team finally gelled. We actually started trusting each other. Coach Johnson relied on us, before. He never did that before because I guess he relied on the class before us. But as seniors, he really, we really grew as a team. Yeah.
That's special stuff. So Don, unique to that time, it's more common now with kids coming into the high school when they haven't gone to Kare Youth League or whatever. But back then, very rare. So where did you grow up, and how did you end up at Rio Hondo?
Let's see. I was born in El Cerrito, pretty tough area. And I was like 6 years old. We moved up to Stockton until I was until high school age, and I went to live with my dad in Southern California, and he says, "You've been getting in too much trouble. I'm gonna put you in a private school." And he did. He put me in Rio Hondo Prep. I show up the first day, and I'm like, well, "What is going on?"
So,
go ahead.
No, just a little bit of I don't know, shell shock. I mean, Rio Hondo's a unique place, and if you're not used to it or have heard of it before, it had to be kind of just shocking and eye-opening, like adjusting to it.
Oh yeah, it took about 3 years before I could even trust. I guess before I even I guess gave my salvation. I committed myself to Christ. But it took to my start of the senior year before I did that, because it just wasn't used to everything. I live in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I'm just floored and amazed the outreach what I witnessed when I was there. They had their hands in all of Southern California, and it's just amazing. And I think that was probably the most important thing from there is that we got to learn about Jesus Christ, how he died for the cross for our sins, and all we have to do is believe, and and it's forever, and that was probably I guess the hardest lesson and the best lesson down there that walking away with, that I had to learn.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all of us. I mean, we're all young men going through that program, and being a young man's hard enough in your teenage years, growing up and just figuring life out. And, it's great to have that spiritual journey and guidance from Rio Hondo leaders. And, that's something that continues today. And I know the school is very, very proud of, and you see it in the players now. I get to talk to them, and it's a big time priority. And I think the parents appreciate all that as well. What a story, Don. Let me ask you about Coach Randall Johnson. You mentioned him. Maybe we'll talk about Coach Gary Lunny as well. I mean, two legends at Rio Hondo. Coach Johnson, head coach for so many years. What was he like back in the early 80s?
He was amazing. He's probably the most influential coach I've ever been around. He's always positive, always making light of everything. And it's kind of my personality now, we take everything serious, but we look for the funniness and everything. And he coached that way. And Mr. Lunny was the opposite. Screaming and hollering and yelling and, want to know why. Like, I don't know. Why did you do this? I'm like, I don't know.
I thought they really meshed well together because of their differences. And their approach. Mr. Lunny had is a funny way of tearing you down, as well, the things he would say. Yep. But Randall Johnson just always seemed like, something was on his mind, thinking about the next thing, thinking about the next way to impact, his players.
And he was an offensive genius, and Mr. Lunny was a defensive genius. I mean, you didn't see it, but then, like I said, Templeton tore us up our junior year in the championship. They came with that same offense the next year. The first game, we shut them down. We shut their two big horse running backs down, and it was like, whoa! Why didn't we figure out that the first time? But but they figured out how to stop them.
That is awesome. That is awesome. The Rio Hondo experience is unique and something, I wish more people would be able to experience, but it all ends for some of us one day, and we move on in life. So what, after high school, Don, what did you do? And you're in Louisiana now. Talk to me about your journey to Louisiana, kind of life after high school.
Well, I joined the Air Force probably when I was 19. Got stationed out here in Alexandria, Louisiana, and the base closed down, and decided to stay. Met my wife here, and had two children. Got divorced. Met my current wife. She had three children, so we raised 5 children together. My oldest son, Noah, he's in Frisco, Texas, which is right above Dallas, and he's a veterinarian. My daughters, one's working for a lawyer, one's got a master's in LSU, and she's a librarian. You got to be a master's. You got to have a master's to be a librarian down there. And then another one, my other daughter, Abigail, just got married, and she's a junior in college, going to be a teacher, but she took some time off because she's having a baby. And then I have a 16-year-old at home right now. He's being homeschooled, but he's a hell of an athlete too. But he's kind of small, so he's like, but he's his first carry as a freshman playing on the seniors, playing with the varsity, he broke off like a 65-yard run.
Oh man!
But he's not playing anymore. But right now, we own 13 bread routes for Bunny Bread, Flowers Incorporated, and we have 45 rent houses in the area. So I'm kind of like on the downside of managing everything and not really working so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, man, you've earned it, man. That's really cool. God bless you for your service. And I mean, Louisiana and California, I can't think of, well, there's probably a few, two very different places, we'll say. I know they take their football very seriously down there in Louisiana.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, everybody talks about LSU.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big time, big time. Opening college, yeah, football weekends are fun. You got to see your son play. That's got to be special stuff as well. Well, sounds like all is well, Mr. Bedoya. Just RHP success, and then more success, after high school. Let me ask you kind of about Rio Hondo football, kind of the, I don't know, the impact it's had on your life, the lasting legacy, if you will. I like talking to the alumni and just hearing, I don't know, what their overall memories of Rio, but just kind of what it means to them, because these young men now playing, one day they'll be older men like us and be looking back and be like, wow, that was a fun experience. So if you could sum up your experience at Rio Hondo Prep football and its lasting legacy.
Well, I guess if I thought back when I was in high school, every day you wake up, you want to get better at whatever you're doing. If it's a quarterback, if it's a running back, if it's blocking, if it's tackling, you don't want to go to sleep not trying to get better at your craft. I mean, hitting a baseball, be better every day. And then if you even put 10, 20 minutes into it, by the time you're a senior, your body's going to fill out, you're going to grow, and you're going to dominate. You're not going to see that. Don't rely on the gifts God gave you. You've got to make them better. You don't want to be good. We're all good. You want to be great. You want to be phenomenal. You can't do that by just thinking that you're that way. You got to make yourself that way.
That is very, very well said. Can't rest on your success. You got to keep constant improvement. And it sounds like, Rio Hondo's had an impact on you and other members of the alumni. And so are you able to follow? You said you've watched a few podcasts here and there. You're able to follow it from way out there, at least an episode or two here.
Yeah, and I watched some games when Dave's son was playing.
Yeah.
It was exciting to see, just make him break everybody's ankles.
Oh man, I got to tell you, Don, for the size he was, pound for pound, that's one of the best football players I've ever seen. Short in stature, but tough as nails, super fast, very durable, and man, what a stud athlete! It had to be fun watching your old quarterback son.
Yep, it was
fun stuff. Made you proud?
Yeah, he was a lot faster than Dave was.
I believe it. Do you have a specific football memory as we kind of wrap things up? Anything that jumps out to you? There's probably, I'm sure there's so many. You can name a few and we'll wrap it up soon.
Probably the best hit I've ever seen was Norm Schultz on a kickoff. Oh no, it was a punt. He hit the first guy, knocked him out of the way, going 100 miles an hour. Hit a second guy, knocked him out the way, and then hit the guy running the ball and made the tackle. And it was like unbelievable.
Wow.
One of the funniest things, I hope I say this story right, but Robert Conrad's son played on the Montclair football team. It was raining, and we were wiping them out 25-0 to go to our and they had shut us out at the beginning of the year, and they were like untouchable. In fact, they even had a professional player playing on that team. But anyway, Mike was wearing out Robert Conrad's son, and Robert was on the sideline yelling at Mike. Mike looks at him and brushes his shoulder. The favorite commercial back then was Robert Conrad, knocked this battery off my shoulder.
That is great. Just taking it to the legendary television actor, huh?
Yeah.
Man,
that's probably one of the funniest.
That is good.
But the guy was Toy Cook. He ran back a punt in the early part of the year when we played them. He won a Super Bowl with the 49ers. Got drafted by the Saints. But he grabbed a punt, went to the sidelines, turned around, came back to the other sidelines, and just ran past everybody all the way down the sideline. I was on kickoff, our punt, so I was waiting for him. He came running to me and just cut, and he was so fast I couldn't even make a move. He was already on the other sideline. I was like, oh my gosh, that's what 4.3 speed looks like.
That is crazy. Some fast dudes. Yeah, it's I was always jealous of fast people, but hey, what are you gonna do? Don, thank you for doing this, man. This has been a blast talking of RHP football with you and catching up, and hopefully we'll see you maybe in California sometime. Catch a game in person.
Okay.
I know yeah, Dave and your buddies, I'm sure they would love to see you. You guys had that reunion. That was out here, right? A few years ago or last year?
Yes, at Norm's house 2 months ago.
Wow. Okay. The 1982 CIF champions.
Yes.
Good stuff.
About 12 of us showed up.
Oh, that's awesome. That's a nice turnout.
That was our whole team, just about.
Yeah. Back in those days, absolutely. Hey, Don Bedoya, it's been a pleasure meeting you and talking to you. Thanks for your continued support of Rio Hondo football, and all the best with everything you're doing going forward.
Thank you. Good luck with it. All you guys are doing too.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Don.
We need a couple more championships.
I love it. Let's get some more banners. Sounds great.
All right.
Well, that was an absolute pleasure chatting with Rio Hondo legend Don Bedoya from the 1982 undefeated CIF champions. And I think it just goes to show you guys that no matter where life takes you, right? It could be another country. It could be across the way down in Louisiana. I mean, the memories are still so clear and so impactful, really, from your time at Rio Hondo Prep. And that's what I just want to encourage the parents and the players now that, you look at some of us, oh yeah, we all played at Rio Hondo Prep, right? It was a good time, but sometimes it takes people who, you don't see every day in the hallways to look back and be like, wow, okay, I get it. This is a bigger deal maybe than I even thought. And I know everybody takes it serious. I know everybody is cherishing all of these moments, but it's fun to look back and to see again what Rio Hondo Prep alumni have become, what they're doing now. Again, a service industry, Don going into the Air Force. I mean, that's not surprising at all. That's just kind of what Rio Hondo alums do, especially those who've gone through the football program. And man, it's fun to catch up with guys because I never met Mr. Bedoya before. I've heard great things, but in a small way, I feel this connection with him and just chatting with him for 20 minutes, being like, man, we were both part of something decades apart, but we have a connection. And that's how I feel with the current guys on the team. I'm always talking to them, just patting them on the shoulder pad or saying like, hey, man, keep up the hard work, because you represent so many more people than just the jersey on your back, than just the family, the last name you represent. I mean, there's so many of us that live through you guys, right? And it's not just trying to relive our high school days. It's that, what that is behind me, a charge to keep. It means something, man. It means something so much more than just, high school football, right? A lot of people play high school football, a lot of kids, a lot of the brotherhood that's thrown around this, left and right. But Rio Hondo really, really means something. And that's why I continue to do this podcast. I really want to get this message out there, it's not just a way to honor the current team and the parents. It's a way to let those who are maybe considering Rio Hondo to be like, hey, you want to be a part of something really special? Why don't you check out 5150 Farner Avenue in Arcadia, California? Because I think the Rio Hondo experience, I would put it up against any high school out there. And I don't know how all high schools work or all the private schools, but I officiated football a long time in the San Gabriel Valley. I've been to almost every high school, north of the 605, north of the 60, east of the 605, all the way out to the 15. I've talked to administrators. I've been around it. And I know that every time I went somewhere, I was like, man, this is a cool place, but it's not Rio Hondo. And so maybe some of you out there were like, Rio Hondo, what is this? Small little legend that could, right? I implore you guys, man. I challenge you. If you have doubts about Rio or the Rio experience, I'm like, man, give it a shot. I guarantee you won't regret it. I guarantee you. You might regret it if you never attend Rio. Like, you don't want to be that guy or a parent or whatever, like, senior year somewhere else thinking, man, what if I would have gone to Rio Hondo? And it's not that some people try Rio out and it's not for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. I've had plenty of teammates, we all did growing up. It's like, man, if we all stay together, we're going to be awesome. And guys go about their separate ways and there's no bad blood or anything. Everyone lives their life, lives their journey. But I am incredibly grateful for the opportunities, the experiences I had at Rio Hondo, because everything I've gone through in my life after that, whether it was umpiring minor league baseball, going to college, or doing what I'm doing now. Like, I reflect on those times playing football for RHP, and not just playing football, but, you know, being in the band and working, you know, getting through school, or just anything, man. And I haven't said it enough probably on the podcast, but people need to really give it a thought. And to the parents out there, to the alumni, I think it's up to all of us really to get this message out, not just me on this podcast, but just to be like, hey, we are, you know, there's talk about what's the mascot at Rio. And it's like, well, the cares are the students themselves. Right. And so for the alumni, it's up to all of us to spread the good word, to spread the message, much like, you know, the discipleship, right. And in the ministry, like, there's plenty of things I should have done better in my life, but I'm trying to do the right thing here with Rio Hondo football and put the word out and just encourage everyone who's been through it. Hey, you're a part of it. No matter what small part you were, we're all a part of this thing, and just trying to connect everybody who's gone through it. And no matter how many years it's been, whether you played in the 1970s or you graduated last year, I mean, it's a big deal. And it's a bigger thing than I think people realize. And that's my goal, is to elevate it to the next level, put it among the elite programs in the area, and to be the best high school football podcast in America. I think that is a very, very realistic goal. And I'm not afraid of the challenges that might include. Maybe I move away someday and I'm not local. I still want to do this. I want to elevate this program as best I can. And maybe there's somebody who's better at this than I do, and they could take the reins. But for now, I'm going to do my part and push the Rio football program, promote it as best I can, because it's guys like Don Bedoya who you hear from, and you're just like, yeah, this is bigger than just some random high school in Arcadia that, you know, has won a few championships. It means something more. And I hope all the players who step on that field understand that it's not about them. It's not just about, you know, the guys who graduated recently. It's about all of us. And we're not just living vicariously through you, but we would give anything on this planet to strap up that helmet just one more time, and to go out there and to just compete and represent and make people proud of you for your efforts. So you guys get to do that on a daily basis. We're already 5 games in. There's only 5 regular season games left. My message to the players, I guess, is just like, don't take any of this for granted. I know you guys want to be on the field, especially when there's a blowout game. Maybe the starters come out and stuff, but cherish every snap, because I'm telling you right now, some cold night in November, maybe December, whenever it is, it's all going to end. And you'll have this moment of, you'll just pause and just reflect and be like, this can't be it. And we all have those moments in our lives. I'm not trying to preach right now, but I'm on a roll, so I'm going with it. You have those moments in life at different times, and it's far more important things than high school football. But I think your lessons and experiences, the lessons learned and the experiences you go through at Rio Hondo Prep, especially playing football, prepare you for some very difficult times. And I personally have gone through some difficult times, and I don't know, I look back on my time at Rio and the adversity and just standing tall and working hard and fighting through it. Like, there's nothing like playing football at Rio. I guess that's the ultimate sum up, the summing it all up. There's nothing like it. And for all of us who haven't played for 20 years or whatever it is, we still think back to, yeah, some hard times. And I mean, we got through it. You worked hard through it. Maybe you lost, whatever. Dealing with losses. There's so many lessons. And I just wanted to say that here briefly on the podcast, just to, every now and then I get worked up about what exactly we're doing. You put so much time and effort into something, and you want it to matter as much to you as to other people as it does to you. And I can honestly say that with so many fans and alumni and parents. They've been so gracious to me, but none of this is about me. This is not this. I'm hesitant to receive, not criticism, the opposite of criticism. I'm to receive praise. Just kind of my nature. I'm a shy guy, but I appreciate everyone who's said kind words about this podcast, because it does mean a lot. It means a lot to me. And I remember when I started this, not too long ago, just thinking like, I'm going all in, and I hope people appreciate this and kind of see the vision that I have, and everybody has. It's been so fulfilling to me to see everybody to be so like fired up about this and be like, yeah, man, real football. Yeah. Friday nights, let's go. So, incredibly rewarding. I want to keep doing this as long as I can. And, yeah, just had to get all that out, guys. Just every now and then you gotta release those emotions, right? So real football in good hands, excited for it. Don Bedoya, great guest on the pod today, coming on and reflecting on 1982, a special year indeed. All right, now let's look at the Torrance Tartars. Let me pull up their max preps here, and let's see if we can. Let's see, no audio. I want to discuss them. They are currently 3-1 on the season. And let's see, there they are. We don't have any stats for them, so that's a little odd. But they opened the season against Narbonne, a city section team there in Harbor City, and played a very close game, 10-7. Narbonne is usually one of the top dogs in the city section, a great program. So to see that score 10-7 is a little alarming to me, whether you won or lost that game. I'm kind of like, wow, okay. I happen to have, I think, a friend of mine whose dad coaches at San Pedro High, and kind of knows the Redondo, San Pedro area quite well. So I got to talk to him a little bit about some of these scores here, or maybe get some intel on the Torrance Tartars. But Redondo Union, Torrance lost to them 24-14. So again, kind of low scoring there, points wise. San Pedro in week 2 on the road, they did lose 24-17. So again, not putting up too many points. It's interesting in today's football. You routinely see 40 and 50 point games, or opponents, you're giving up 20 and 30 points in victories. So kind of low scoring here. I'm curious to see if maybe they just kind of run the ball, slow down the game, maybe shorten the game, if you will. And then last week against Garden Grove, again, who's no slouch, they're 2-3 this year, but Garden Grove has had some great teams over the years. Torrance beat them 41-0. So that score jumps off the page a little bit there, kind of their coming out party, I guess you would say. They scored 20 points in the first quarter, 14 in the second quarter. So they really rolled against Garden Grove last week. And the Tartars versus the Argonauts, pretty cool stuff. I love unique mascots, so good stuff there. The Tartars, I'm not sure, who is it? Compton College, I think, is the Tartars also. So I'm not even sure what a Tartar is. What do we got here? We got kind of a Viking helmet or something going on. So either way, beat the Tartars, right, is the battle cry for this week. Let's see. So they've won 3 out of the 4 games they've played. They play in a pretty interesting, let me see their league, the Pioneer League. Torrance, Lawndale, and El Segundo, 3 pretty decent programs there. Let me see. I think we're going to see a lot of speed against Torrance this Friday night. And I know I said that about Boron and maybe their size, but there's a whole lot different level, right, between a public school like Boron, out a small school out in the middle of the high desert, versus a school like Torrance, who I'm not sure their enrollment, but it's got to be a few thousand kids. And I know it's only 11 on 11 at times, but still, it should be an interesting Friday night. Again, be sure to cheer our boys on. I will be honest, I expect great things from Rio Hondo, but I think in this game, we could get punched back a little bit. We could maybe, I'm not going to say shell shocked, but we could be surprised, I think, early on, and the boys better be ready. I think they will be ready. They're up to the challenge. I look in the eyes of all these guys on Friday nights, and they seem relaxed. They seem full of energy, but I hope they get that enthusiasm maybe that I get. Here's some highlights from, let me see here. Little run here from the Torrance Tartars. Looks like, what do we got? Kind of a Garden Grove versus Torrance for those watching on YouTube. 15-yard run. So kind of a pistol set they run. Kind of a gun run there in the middle. Okay. So most teams run this stuff now with the shotgun or the pistol formation. 12-yard run. Just a few highlights on the show here. Kind of an overload situation there. Quarterback scrambling. Okay. So got to contain him. Looks like some pretty decent sized linemen. Let's look at their roster while we got them here on Max Preps. MaxPreps.com, man. When you want to look up opponents, it's a great way to go. Pretty good size roster. Again, big public school, so a lot of bodies. Look into the 50s and 60s. Some big dudes, 250. Okay. I guess they don't have all the weights and this and that, but a decent sized roster. Should be interesting, man. I'll say that. It should be interesting. I think it's a real challenge for Rio, and I hope they're ready to step up and to answer the bell, if you will, to not back down from anybody like Rio is so accustomed to doing. We will play anybody, anytime, anywhere, and I think that's a wonderful thing. And what Coach Carson said on the post-game show on Saturday over the weekend was that this was a game scheduled that Rio kind of knew would kind of be like a playoff type opponent, really, and somebody that these are the types of teams you'll probably have to beat 4 weeks in a row to get to a CIF championship. And so it'll be a real test for Rio, man. I'm looking forward to this. Another level of football that every time Rio has kind of stepped up to a different opponent, right? It's appeared like, they've answered the call. They've answered the call, whether it was Charter Oak, Arcadia back in 2012, Arroyo, right? They were a local rivalry that we wanted to play for years. And a lot of times there wasn't no second game scheduled when there was a home and home because Rio just stepped up and beat down these teams pretty well. So I would love to see more public schools on the schedule. We got to get that enrollment up, I think, and get obviously healthy, but I would love to see Northview on the schedule, San Dimas, Glendora, some schools obviously out by me that play good football over the years. And I think Rio would match up well with, and it would answer a lot of questions from the San Gabriel Valley Tribune to 210 Prep Sports. How would Rio fare against some of these other schools? And I think that the question Mark Carson always answers is that it's not about playing these schools, it's playing them week in and week out, because it's all about health, right? So it's a battle of attrition sometimes, and I think Rio can hold its own, and this will be a true test on Friday night. Get there early, get some food, support the usually I think it's the junior high girls or the high school girls summer trip funds and everything. Hey, get 2 meals, man. Why not? This money's going to a good cause. Help the young ladies for their summer trip. Last week had some good pizza. That was good. And I think the week before that had some pulled pork sandwiches. Not sure what's on the menu this week, but get there nice and early. Congrats to Colby Johnson for the presidency, we'll say, for Rio Hondo Prep. I did want to mention, and he will probably be on the podcast this week for the post-game show. I did want to mention briefly the girls volleyball team, which we'll kind of do here. It's hard to do some scores on the pod for the girls on the pregame show because by the time this is out, I recorded this earlier in the week, and then by the time it's out, you can't really do a recap or whatever because the games have been played already. But let's see. The girls volleyball team is 12-11, 1-6 in the prep league. Has been struggling a little bit since they hit league play, but the prep league is kind of a gauntlet, if you will, for girls volleyball. Last week they lost on to Mayfield at home and to Pauley at home, as well as Chadwick at home. So they took Chadwick to 5 games, but unfortunately, Pauley and Mayfield swept the young ladies. And this week for Rio Hondo Prep, you guys will hear this. And after the fact. But Rio plays Flint Ridge on Tuesday, September 19th, and Westridge at Westridge on Wednesday, September 20th. Westridge is away Tuesday. Flint Ridge is a home game. So again, it doesn't do you any good hearing that now because by the time this is out, it will be too late to get out in attendance. But don't forget to support the ladies. You can look at maxpreps.com for their volleyball schedule and get out. It keeps you supporting Rio sports before the football games, which are just on Fridays, but for the most part anyway, Fridays and Saturdays. Before we go, I do want to talk about one quick rule. Going to be nice and simple this week because just kind of a shorter show that I want to just move on and get on to. But we're going to talk about the play clock in high school football. Recent change a few years ago is that high school football did go to a 40-second play clock. So we don't have the clocks that are out. Visual clocks, we'll say, like a shot clock in basketball or whatever. High school football doesn't have that yet, but much like the NFL or college football, there's 40 seconds in between plays every time a ball is snapped and the play ends. So from the time the whistle blows to the ending of a play, you have 40 seconds to run the next play. There are exceptions in the sense that say there's an administrative stoppage, so a penalty, an injury, a touchdown, anything, a change of possession. Where you will not be 40 seconds, you will then go to a 25-second clock, which we used to do all the time. But what will happen basically is if there's some type of administrative stoppage, kind of the things I mentioned, then once the ball is spotted, everyone's ready to go. The official will hack the ball ready for play, and you got 25 seconds to call your play before a delay of game. If you watch the back judge, which is kind of the official back where the free safety would play, right? the guy furthest away from the ball, he controls the play clock. A lot of guys have buzzers on their hip. And what they will do is when there's 5 seconds remaining on the play clock, they will either raise their hand or give a kind of a counting signal. So if you watch Coach Carson, sometimes in games where Rio's trying to kill the clock, if you will, use as much time as possible, he will have his quarterback, Yannick Diaz, Alex Mustaine, whoever it is, look to the back judge and wait for that back judge to start counting 5 seconds and not snap it until those final 5 seconds. So you milk as much time of the clock as possible. So play ends, general, run or pass play, no matter first down, whatever, generally 40 seconds goes from the end of the play until you have to snap it. Now, if I'm honest, again, 40 seconds will probably turn into like 42 seconds, 43 maybe, because back judge has to officiate the play. Okay, the play ends, everything's over. All right, no one's fighting. All right, good. Now we'll start the 40. So it's not always an exact from whistle until snap. 40 seconds, sometimes it's a little longer, but I think 42 seconds or so, 41, 42 seconds is usually better than like say 39 seconds, right? So you want to get that full time on the play clock. And again, after a penalty, after an injury, change of a quarter, a kickoff, a touchback, you'll see the officials move the chains, and that will be the time the official blows his whistle and marks the ball ready for play. They don't mark the ball ready for play after a general play ends, because it's just, hey, 40 seconds up until 40 seconds from the end of the play until the ball snaps. So you don't have to mark it ready. You'll have to mark it ready if kind of the game has stopped, not just the clock stopped, but kind of, again, there was an administrative stoppage. Someone was asking me what this means. We, raise the roof or whatever. That generally means telling the back judge, hey, reset the play clock to either 25 or honestly, hey, don't throw a delay of game here because we were late, kind of setting up the getting the ball spotted and other things. So that's just some insight on kind of what goes on between downs again. And I would just want the fans out there to kind of get a little knowledge. I'm not dropping a huge knowledge or test questions or anything for you. I'm just giving you little things really that I think will make our fan base a little more knowledgeable. And to those who maybe don't know football a whole lot, kind of like, what do you mean delay a game? What they have to call plays in between? There's a lot going on in football. And even those of us who know a lot of it, we might learn something if we take a step back and are like, oh, I didn't realize that's how that works. So in college and pro, there's all kinds of times when you reset it to 40 and 25. I won't confuse you. Basically, for any administrative stoppage, if you have to move the ball or whatever, there's a pause in action. Then you'll see the referee blow his whistle and hack it in, mark the ball ready for play for 25 seconds. And again, keep your eye on that back judge who should be raising his hand or counting it off so that the quarterback and the offense can see that, oh man, there's 5 seconds left. And a lot of times, I'll say this too. This is just procedurally wise. This is how things go. Generally, if there is a delay of game, the back judge throws his flag, right? Delay game. You'll see this at all levels of football. Basically, if a coach is willing to burn a timeout for a delay of game, and you could say, wait, he called timeout after the back judge threw his flag. In general, generally speaking, you're going to grant the coach a timeout. If again, there's some communication, right? The back judge has the play clock. He's counting it down. The sideline official, the line judge, or the head linesman, he's getting communication from the head coach. Hey, timeout. Oh, okay. Hey, timeout. And you're blowing your whistle, killing the clock while the back judge is throwing a delay of game. In general, you're always going to grant that timeout. That's usually what a good crew will do because, hey, if you're willing to burn a timeout, yeah, we're going to give it to you because you only get 3 of those a game anyway. Now, within reason, right? It can't be delay a game and then wait, timeout. I mean, if it's close at all, though, they're going to grant you the timeout. That's just the right thing to do and kind of what is taught around high school football officiating. So plus it's your sideline. You're the official on that sideline. You want to grant your coach a timeout, right? Because if you don't, you're picking a bigger fight than probably is worth. So sometimes you'll see a flag on the ground and be like, wait, they threw a flag for delay a game. Yeah, but they called timeout over here. And it's just a process, right? The communication and just one of those things that makes football, again, very, very unique. Okay, that's it for today. That's your brief rules discussion topic. Hopefully you guys enjoy that and you enjoyed the conversation with 1982 CIF champion Don Bedoya. We'll be back on the weekend recapping this huge game Friday night against the Torrance Tartars, who are 3-1 coming to Rio Hondo Prep. They are well rested. They've played 4 games, 2 are 5, and I'm excited, man. It's going to be a real challenge. I hope the boys are ready. It's going to be 4 quarters of war, and should be very, very exciting. And once again, it'll be an opportunity for our young men, our boys, to become men, which real football does very, very well, making young men into men and just developing them and maturing them. So be sure to tune in Friday night. If you can't be there, tune in on the NFHS network. If not, I will be posting updates left and right. And then, of course, the recap show on the weekend. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you on Friday night. I sure hope so. And if not, I'll be here on the podcast for our recap show over the weekend. Have a great couple of days before the game, or, couple hours, I should say. And it'll be kickoff time in Arcadia. Well, check that, Irwindale, before you know it. Thanks to Don Bedoya, and looking forward to more podcasts next week. Another pregame show. To the volleyball players out there, keep working hard to put together some dubs. And to the football team out there, cherish every snap, man. I'm telling you, it goes quick, and before you know it, it'll be done. So don't take any of it for granted. Enjoy this ride. Enjoy growing from boys into men. Man, you'll never forget these times. So we'll see you on Friday night, guys. Week 5, Torrance at Rio Hondo Prep. Beat the Tartars.
There ain't a day that I don't think about it all now. About a life well lived and all the roads that I've been down. Each moment's one that, it made me who I am. And turned this boy into a man. Turn the boy into a man.